Hi there guys, my name is Jacob and welcome back to the channel. Now, as many of you will already know, in late January of 2025, I had a solar and battery system installed at my house, and I've updated you guys along the way with various different videos, and they've been quite popular on my channel. And in the comments of many of those videos, a lot of you have asked me to update you on, monthly generation figures and things like that. So I thought, well, that's what today's video is going to be all about. And as we've just come to the end of February, I'm going to go through the total of February's solar generation stats, what I spent, what I exported, how much I generated, total monthly bill, all that type of stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to stick around and enjoy the video. But just before we get there, I'd just like to say a big thank you to those of you who have used my Optimus Energy link in the description box. And it will be down there in the description box of this video too. I just want to remind you guys that in about 3 weeks' time, UK energy prices are set to increase again. And that is because the UK energy price cap has been announced that they're increasing unit prices by 6.4%. So that means if you are on a variable tariff, your prices are going to increase. So what I would advise to you is, regardless of the provider you are with, try and get on to a cheap fixed deal. If you can fix right now, you're going to avoid those price increases coming up in just 3 weeks' time. If you'd like to switch providers, then feel free to use my link below if you're not with Octopus and switch over to Octopus. They can provide you with a cheap fixed deal, and you will also get an additional £50 of free credit just for using my link, and I will also get £50 free too. So if you do use my link, I just want to say a huge thank you, and I hope you can find a cheap fixed deal before your price goes up. Right then, let's get into the figures. In fact, before we get into the figures, I just want to update those people who may never have seen my channel before. And I just want to say my solar and battery system consists of 13 440 watt panels, a 9.5 kilowatt GivEnergy battery, and a 5 kilowatt hybrid GivEnergy inverter. And it is about a 5.7 kilowatt system. So that is what obviously the next load of numbers are going to be based on. Right then, so my total month's generation for the entirety of February was 202.57 kilowatt hours. So I thought that was pretty good going, but of course I have nothing to compare this on because this is my first total month of solar generation. So, I don't have previous Februarys to compare it to, or even previous months to compare it to. This is my first full month. But as I said, 202.5 kilowatt hours is what I got out of my system for the entirety of February. Now, the best day was the 27th of February. And on this particular day, I generated 19.4 kilowatt hours. So that was a really good day. And, I was super excited when, seeing those numbers roll in. So 19.4 was the best day. And to be honest, I had a few, there was a few good days in there across the month. It was a bit hectic, there was a lot of ups and downs throughout the month. But ultimately, it's February, you kind of got to expect it. But there was quite a few days in there where we got up to about 15 kilowatt hours. There was an 18 and a 17 in there. But as I said, the best day was 19.4. And that was a really good day. Now, the worst day really was a bad day. And compared to the height of 19.4, the worst day really was rock bottom. We didn't even get 1 kilowatt out of the worst day. It was 623 watts. That is what we got out of the worst day. And that was on the 10th of Feb. So that was a pretty miserable day. But, as I've said to you before, I charge my battery overnight on a cheap rate. So even if the sun doesn't come out on these cold, miserable winter days, it doesn't matter because I've got 9.5 kilowatt hours stored in my battery. That can get me through, the average day easily. So on a day like that, where the sun doesn't really come out and I get no generation, it's not the end of the world. Of course, I'm not going to have any excess to export, but that's fine. To just get me through on cheap energy, the battery pulls me through on those days. And that really is, where the battery shines on, winter days. So I don't have to use really expensive day rates. So yeah, best day, 19.4. Worst day, 623 watts. So not good. Now, what was interesting about the total month generation of 202, and something I haven't mentioned on the channel before, but all my panels are actually fitted with Tigo Optimisers. And that is because I have a couple of trees surrounding my house. And I guess on certain months of the year, they are going to put quite a bit of shade onto a portion of the panels. So I had the Tigo Optimisers to kind of negate their impact, because if you're not aware, if a panel of your system gets shaded without optimizers, the whole system takes a dive in performance. So even though just one panel out of the 13 might be shaded, it means the whole system won't work as well as it should do. So to negate that, I had optimizers fitted to every panel. Now, I know this was probably a bit overkill and I probably didn't need them on every panel, but I just thought, you know what, it's going to probably make the system run more efficiently over time. And you know what, for the extra, I think it was about £800 I had to pay to have them all fitted. But I thought, you know what, for the life of the system, it will probably pay for itself. So I gambled and I went with, as I said, 13 Tigo Optimisers. Now, for the month of February, as I said before, I generated 202.57 kilowatt hours. And for the entirety of the month, 6 kilowatts was saved by the Tigo Optimisers. So, of course, when my panels were shaded at certain points, the optimizers made sure that the rest of the panels performed as well as they possibly could do and saved me from losing 6 kilowatt hours. So they definitely helped and are definitely there for a reason. But, you know, 6 kilowatt hours, it isn't a great deal. It's about 3% of the overall month's total. So, you know, it's going to take a while for those Tigo Optimizers to pay for themselves. But to be honest, February is not the worst month for the trees to, you know, be put in shade on my panels. I think it's more November, December, Jan. Maybe just December and Jan, really, that it causes quite a bit of shade. So I guess later in the year, you know, I will find that out. But at the moment, the shading isn't too bad. Therefore, the Tigo Optimizers really aren't needed all that much. But as I said, you know, I've got them there. I think it does make the system run more efficiently. And overall, for the month of Feb, they have saved me 6 kilowatt hours. So I'm quite happy with that. And, you know, for me, it just makes me know that the system is running as efficiently as it can do. Now, I know some people will say it's completely pointless of having paid that, you know, £800 to have those fitted. And really, you could have done without them. And I agree, I probably could have done without them. But, you know, they're fitted now. And it's interesting to just see, you know, the difference they will make over, you know, the months and years as it rolls by. Right then, moving on. So for the entirety of February, I spent £11.11, and that was on pulling 124 kilowatt hours from the grid. Now, I try and only pull energy from the grid overnight, and that I think is about 12:30 to 5:30 at night, and that is because I'm on a tariff called Octopus Go, where they basically allow me to pull from the grid at 8.5 pence a kilowatt. And I only ever really need to pull from the grid at night time, unless I've got a few different things running in the house, like, you know, the oven's on, the microwave might be on, you know, things like that, where I've got a lot of high powered devices running all at once and my inverter can't cope with that, so it has to pull a bit from the grid. Other than those very small scenarios that do happen occasionally, I only ever pull from the grid overnight. But over the course of the month, I pulled 124 kilowatt hours, and that was at an average of 11 pence a kilowatt. And that is obviously because most of the energy is pulled at 8.5 pence, but there is certain instances throughout the month where I pull from the grid on the expensive day rate, which is about 25 pence. So even though it's for a very short period of time, over the course of a month, it does bump up that average per kilowatt cost from 8.5p to 11p. So it's a very small bump up, but, you know, it's there and it's nice to know. I'm obviously going to, over time, try and keep that down and try and keep it to the 8.5. And I have been monitoring the system when we are using high-powered devices to try and make sure that doesn't happen very often. But as I said, I'm learning. The system is new. Of course, I'm not going to be perfect at running it yet. But it's really nice to see that my average cost per kilowatt is only 11 pence, because before I had the system, it was more like 25 pence because, I was on a much more expensive tariff then. So clearly the move on to a different tariff and having the solar and the battery, it has brought my cost per kilowatt down drastically. So that's really good to see. So as I said, a spend of £11.11 for everything I pulled from the grid. Now, in February, I finally got my export set up, and this was only set up on about the 18th of February. So the first 18 days of Feb, I was just trying to utilise as much as what I was generating as possible, because otherwise I had to send it to the grid for free, which, that was a real bummer. But a lot of it we saved and we used in the house on electric heaters, dishwasher on, things like that, washing machine, as much as we could soak it up. But from 18th of Feb to the 28th of Feb, we managed to export 101.1 kilowatt hours to the grid. So we had some really good days towards the end of February, and we managed to export the vast majority of it. And that meant that for export income, we managed to get £15.17. And as I said, that was only for the last 10 days of February. So we actually exported more on a cost basis, like £15.17. We got more in export than we actually spent on energy across the entire month. So that was a real positive. And, it's quite exciting to see that, going forward into the better months of the year. If we're exporting more in the final 10 days of Feb than we bought for the whole month, imagine what, March, April, May, June, imagine what the export numbers are going to look like for those months. So that's really exciting to see. But unfortunately, we did have to pay the standing charge because, we don't get out of that. Nobody does. So the standing charge for us for the entire month of Feb was £17.20. So that was more than anything. But overall, if you, collate those figures, it comes out basically at a final electricity monthly bill of £13.14. So that factors in the £17.20 standing charge, the £11.11 that I spent on pulling energy from the grid, and then minusing the £15.17 that we got in income from the export. So a total February monthly bill of £13.14, which, if you ask me, is phenomenal. But, if we'd have had the export for the entirety of February, I have no doubt that number would have been actually below zero, and actually they would have owed us money. But we only owe Octopus money because we didn't have the export set up for the entirety of the month. So when you think about it, having a negative February bill, I think is incredible. Considering, my bill would have been £60, £70 before I got all this set up. So the savings are there to see, and they're huge. But something that I mentioned in a previous video that I really wasn't aware of, but, it's really surprised me, is I'm not only saving money on my electricity bill, I am saving money on my gas bill too. And the reason for that is mostly because I didn't have the export set up until the 18th of Feb. So as I mentioned before, on the, all the days prior to then, we were generating quite a lot, and, we were trying to soak it up by using things in the house. So we were using electric heaters to heat the house rather than having the gas central heating on. And this has made a massive difference to my gas bill. So, in January, my bill was about £85 for heating. In February, the gas bill was £35.20. So, if we compare January's £85 bill to February's £35 bill, it's fair to say I probably would have used the central heating the same, because February was incredibly cold. Same as January. January was really cold. But we didn't have to put the gas central heating on as much because of the excess solar we had. So not only have we saved, roughly £50 on the electric bill, but we've also saved £50 on the gas bill. And that was a huge surprise to me. So, it's a double saving really. So it's really, really positive. Now going forward, we may not use the excess solar to put electric heaters on as much, because of course we can now export it to the grid and get paid for it. But you know what, we might do a bit of both. We will see. But it's really nice for at least the 1 month that we've got a very low electricity bill and a very low gas bill. Because I mean, overall, we spent roughly £48 for a February energy bill. And I doubt there's many people in the UK that have, that low of a bill. So that's really positive. And, the savings don't stop there. Amazingly enough, I have mentioned this on the channel before. I made a video about it, but unfortunately not many people watched it. I won't take it personally. But I have a share in a Ripple Energy wind farm. And the one I have a share in is Kirkhill. And basically, if you don't know what that is, basically I just bought a small share in a cooperative wind farm, which means, a few thousand people came together, threw their money into a pot, and a wind farm was built by a company called Ripple Energy. And I now get paid on a monthly basis for the share of energy that my share produces. So for February, my share of the wind farm produced £24.96 worth of energy that got credited to my Octopus Energy bill. So if you factor in my electric bill, my gas bill, and my Ripple Energy credits, my entire February bill was £23.38. And I've never seen my energy bill that low before in a winter month. So, it's safe to say I'm pretty happy about that. Also, I should just say, if you want to know a bit more about the Ripple Energy share, and maybe that's something you'd be interested in doing yourself, feel free to go onto their website and check out Ripple Energy. And I also have a YouTube video, as I mentioned earlier, that is on the channel. So if you'd like to just know a little bit about my share and how much I put into that, then, as I say, go and check that video out on the channel. It didn't get very many views when I put it on the channel initially, so it would be nice to see that video do a little bit better. But I'll leave it there, guys. It's been quite a long video, but let me know down below if you enjoyed it. Let me know how much your February energy bill was. If you've got solar, let me know how much you produced. I live in the West Midlands, so these figures really are only comparable to somebody in the West Midlands, but it would be interesting to know, if you live somewhere else, did you do better or did you do worse? Feel free to let me know down in the comments. And again, don't forget, if you are looking for a new energy deal or switching providers before that price cap update, where it goes up 6.4%, check out my Octopus Energy link down in the description box. And if you switch, I just want to say a big thank you, because as I said before, you get £50 and so do I. And it's a huge help to the channel. Right then, guys, I will leave it there. If you made it this far, I'd just like to say a huge thank you. And guys, I will catch you in the next one.